Hello, Goose. Hello, hello. Her, Fireman Fred 57. Hello and welcome to the New Health Conversation podcast. This is live, it's not recorded. We're going to talk today about why diets are failing us, my best-selling book, along with my other 3 books that I've also written all with medical doctors. Here's the thing, we have 80% of America overweight, 50% are obese. Does anybody really think that diets are working? And I have a report here from the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, and they're projecting that by 2030, in less than 6 years, 86% of America is going to be overweight or obese. So how can anyone defend diets, counting calories, et cetera? They just don't work. You can see the title up there. Harvard Medical School, stop counting calories to lose weight. It's not only antiquated, it's just wrong, from Harvard. And what they said, to go further into the study, they said stop counting calories, because like they said, it's not only antiquated, it's just wrong. And they said that the main thing is that we need to concentrate on what's in the calorie, not how many calories we're consuming. There's the downfall, the Achilles heel to every single diet out there. Many of you have already done that. You've gone on a diet, you've lost weight, you've gained it all back, and you say, well, that diet didn't work. So I went from keto to paleo to Mediterranean to time-restricted eating. We got all these diets going on. None of them work. I mean, you can't have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic if you think that any diet works. We wrote the definitive book on this back in 2010. We had lots of pushback because of the fact that everybody still today, look at what you're being told. You're being told the only way to lose weight is to restrict calories. And yet Harvard's saying, they basically said, stop counting calories. The idea of a calorie in, a calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. They said we need to refocus and concentrate on what's in the calorie, not how many calories we're consuming. That's the bottom line to all of this. I mean, I'm happy to hear any of the diets you want to put in there, and you'll tell me, I lost 30 pounds, I lost 50 pounds, but were you ever able to keep it off? You can't have 80% of America overweight if diets worked in the long run, because they just don't. And all the medical evidence proves that. Let me read you from another big study where they said 66 and 2/3 of people who go on any form of calorie restriction, calorie lowering diet, gain back more weight than they lost. Look, we're original researchers. None of this is a copy. This is all original research. And it's pretty sad because we've got, so that's 240 million people or more that are either overweight or obese. I mean, how much longer do we just keep going along this road? Now, before I depress all of you, there are 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies by the top weight loss, nutrition physiologists in the entire world. They've spent 38 years looking for the silver bullet for weight loss. So they did 150 studies. Now, here's the thing. Every diet they studied, people lost weight. Didn't matter what the name was. But every diet, every time, people were losing up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. I'll explain to you in a moment why that's so destructive. And third, every person, every time, gained back at least as much or more than they lost. Just like this article saying that 66 and 2/3 of people who go on any form of calorie lowering diet gain back more weight than they lost. I mean, why go on a diet to lose the weight and just gain it all back? And you understand when you go on a diet, what you're really doing, you're not lowering calories, by the way. Calorie is just a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water, 1 degree Celsius. The body doesn't know what calories are, but what the body does know, it knows about nutrition. Because it's nutrition, not calories, that run your brain, your heart, your kidney, your liver, your spleen, muscles, everything going on, all the organ systems, right? Well, when you go on a diet, what you're really doing is what? You're lowering the amount of food you're consuming. But the body kind of has, if you imagine a horizon, okay, like this, that horizon is the minimum amount of nutrition that we need in order to run those organ systems, okay? So think about it. When you go on a diet, what are you doing? You're lowering that horizon, you're lowering the quantity of food you're consuming, but now you're lowering nutrition. Well, when the body senses there is enough nutrition, what does it do? It goes in starvation mode. It shuts down your fat burning, and it basically converts your muscles into carbohydrates for fuel. Now, it's not just your metabolism like when you're working out. It slows down the metabolism when you're at rest, 23 hours a day. That's called your basal metabolic rate. That's really what controls your weight, not the 1 hour or whatever you're doing working out, okay? The other thing it does, it's even more alarming, is it also inhibits your own immune system. So the capability of your immune system becomes compromised, okay? So the researchers knew this. And they said, no, wait a minute. We're not going to do any more diets where it's about, lowering the quantity of food without recognizing, is it possible to lower the quantity of food, but not lower the amount of nutrition? That was the theory. That was the test that they wanted to see. Could they solve this? They knew that every diet out there didn't work long term. Every diet, didn't matter what it was, didn't work. That's why you've got 80% of America overweight. But not only did John Hopkins say that in 2030 that 86% of Americans will be overweight or obese, they went on to say, even more troubling, the authors note in the study, by 2048, all American adults would become overweight or obese if the current trends continue. What? 100%? Well, we're headed there now. And yet, what are we doing? We're following all the influences, with all due respect, the medical doctors, the chiropractors, the dietitians, the nutritionists, the workout people, the weight loss coaches. Is any of it working? Also, is anybody that you're following on social media showing you one thread of medical evidence about what they're claiming? And they're all claiming the same thing. You could just change the name from paleo to keto to Mediterranean to Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, paleo, Cornish diet, Atkins diet. I mean, there's so many diets, I don't even have enough time to go through them all, right? But the problem is that every one of those is just a scheme to lower the amount of food you're consuming. That's it. Never did they bring up you're lowering the amount of nutrition that I've seen. I can't know everything. I've been a nutritional researcher for 21 years. I've written 4 best-selling books, all with medical doctors. And I'm not telling you this to impress you, but I want you to understand. I've done 20 shows on PBS. I was interviewed on the 4 biggest daytime shows in America. And I've done over 1,500 lectures all over the world, including in China. And for 20 of the 21 years, all of that meant zero in the medical world, zero, until about 14 or 15 months ago, these 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies started to come out, proving that these, not me, I had nothing to do with it, but these nutritional physiology researchers who for 38 years have been looking for the silver bullet, they found it and had the medical proof. Now, what they did, here's what they did. Now, remember, this was a theory. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to do paleo, oh, we're going to do keto, or no. This was completely new ground. So the first thing they recognized was if we were going to reduce the amount of food that people consumed, was it possible to not lower the amount of nutrition? In other words, that sounded like almost an impossible task. So they set out to do it by doing this. 40% of the food that they had people eat was a grocery list the researchers developed. So proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, etc. 40%, only 40% of what they had the people in the studies do. No one in the studies were allowed to exercise, okay? We'll come back to that in a moment. Then what they did is they found they created what would be classified by them as the world's most perfect meal. The foundation, the underpinning of it was we need to make up for the deficiency in the nutrition in the food that we've been giving to people in North America, even if they're trying to eat healthy. I'll give you 3 quick examples. They estimate an orange from 30 years ago today to equal the nutrition of 1 orange. You got to eat about 6 oranges, almost a dozen apples. And Cornell University did a study on spinach from 1953 to recently. And they said that the iron levels in spinach in the study, Cornell University, decreased by 4,300% in that time frame. I know a lot of you are going to come on and, well, I eat whole foods and I do organic. 200 studies in organic, and I do it organic, by the way, but not for the reason you would think. In the 200 studies they did analyze in organic, they found that organic was better, a little bit better nutritionally. And the reason to consume it is it has less herbicides and pesticides and chemicals in organic, okay? Just let's clear that up for a moment. So the point is, even if you're trying to eat healthy, you still are deficient in the what would be considered to be the world's most perfect food that the body cares about, okay? The first thing they knew that we're short, this is documented, it's not for debate, are what are called trace ionic minerals, okay? There's 70 that we need. Now, what are they? Well, I'm not talking about iron, calcium, magnesium. I'm talking about things like gold and silver and zinc and boron and beryllium and molybdenum. There's 70 that we need. And in the best organic you could buy, if you go out today, you're going to get 15 to 20 of those minerals out of 70. So step number one, the researchers, part of creating the world's most perfect meal, they found a source that had all 70 minerals. Not 20, not 30, not 40, all 70, okay? Number two, the thing that we need that's really critical for life are called amino acids. They're called the building blocks of life. There are 9 that are essential. You have to get them from your diet. There's no question about it. The other 11 are non-essential, all right? Now, what's misleading about protein, and I saw a big obesity doctor today coming on saying, well, we're going to show you how to increase your protein to lose weight. With all due respect to the doctor, you're not aware of this new study in Europe. It's called net nitrogen utilization. It's true that the only way you get an amino acid, whether it's an essential or not, is from protein. So you think, okay, I'm going to ingest 120 grams of protein, I'm good. No, you're not. In Europe, through blood, stool, fat, and urine analysis, they were able to determine when you ingested a protein, what percentage of those 20 amino acids. You got all 20, the 9 non-essential and the 11 essential. You got all 20. But the key to the body, and the only thing the body could register, what percentage of those 20 were being absorbed or used by the body, okay? Well, this will make vegans mad, I know, but it's just scientific proof. It's not my opinion. I don't give you opinions. If you want opinions, there's plenty of other people on social media can give you opinions. What they found was that in an animal protein, these researchers in Europe, that the absorption of the amino acids was only 10%. 90% of a plant-based protein was toxic waste, we'll get to that in a moment, that the kidneys have to get rid of. Now let's go to animal proteins. I'm not making any judgments here. I'm just giving you the science. So when they analyzed steak, chicken, fish, liver, turkey, whatever the animal protein was, maximum absorption 30%. Well, the researchers found a source where the absorption of the amino acids was 91%. You can see now they're beginning to develop the meal. You are sort of balanced, et cetera. Okay, so now you've got 70 trace minerals, not 20. Now you have a 91% absorption of aminos, not a 30% absorption. And the third thing they found was a very specialized electrolyte. Electrolytes help you to absorb water, et cetera, in your body. The fourth thing they found was from Manchuria, and keep in mind, the researchers who had, for the last 25 years, found food sources from around the world that you can't buy at your grocery store that contain these massive concentrations of nutrition with very few calories, okay? So the next thing they made to be the world's most perfect meal are called adaptogens. They come from Mongolia and Manchuria. And what do adaptogens do? Well, they lower stress and they lower inflammation. In case you didn't know, inflammation is the underlying cause of pretty much every disease out there, according to the medical community. In the medical trials, in these medical published studies that prove people's inflammation came down 25% in 30 days. Okay, so let's review. The meal's coming together. We're almost done. 70 minerals, 91% of absorption of aminos, the electrolyte, and now these adaptogens. And the last thing was this huge discovery of natural occurring vitamins. Now you might tell me, I take a multivitamin, congratulations. But about 80 to 90% of all vitamins out there in the marketplace today are synthetic, made in a laboratory, not the same thing as Mother Nature making it. So again, what became the world's most perfect meal? 70 trace minerals, 91% absorption amino acids, the electrolyte, the adaptogens, and the massive amounts of natural sourced vitamins. Then they created a new way of consuming. Very important. So you had the ingredients, but you don't have, let's call it the recipe. more importantly, the protocol. What did they actually have people do? Well, 5 days a week, out of 7, 5 days, they did something called protein pacing. And a protein pacing day was really starting the day, only food they consumed for breakfast was the world's most perfect meal. For lunch, all the food from the grocery store. They gave them a list of quantities and what you were taking, etc. Dinner time, another meal from the grocery store. And what's unique, what they did, they created a fourth meal, not dessert. Again, the world's most perfect food. So they started their day with the world's most perfect food, had a regular lunch, regular organic food, dinner, organic, and last meal. So that was 5 days. 2 days a week, they had them do something that was completely different. Intermittent nutritional fasting, not intermittent fasting, not fasting, totally different. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only the world's most perfect meals, but 4 times a day, not twice, not just in the morning and the last meal. Now, why was this so important to eliminate all regular food? Because they had to make sure they went to very, very few or a very small quantity of food, because in order to get the body to naturally, believe it or not, every night, your body naturally detoxes itself. As long as you don't eat too late, when you go to sleep, your body suspends or all but suspends your digestion and turns on a natural detox mechanism. It's called autophagy. That's when the body gets rid of the dead cells and the remnants. Every night it occurs. Well, the researchers basically replicated that process when people were awake by doing these very concentrated nutrients and allowed the body to have very little interaction with digestion to allow it to detox, okay? In case you didn't know it, we're living in an unbelievably toxic world. I'll talk about that in just a moment. I discovered this medical syndrome, we'll talk about it in just a moment, that you and me and every person in the world has. It stands for toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, overweight, and stress. What they're talking about is we're breathing, we're drinking, we're eating chemicals, and the body, to protect us, is storing those chemicals in our visceral. That's the fat around your organs, okay? So it was very, very important to the researchers. The number one thing, like it sounds crazy, don't do this to lose weight, despite the fact that men and women with no exercise lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet, lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet, no loss of water. Instead of losing, they gain lean muscle mass, okay? And we have the medical proof to prove it. As a matter of fact, if you go, you can see it right on there, the New Health Conversation. That's a free website to go to. And I'll show you the website so you'll see there's nothing to buy there. Not my books. I don't want you to buy my books. People all the time, well, where can I buy your book? You don't need to buy my book. We created this free website for you to go and see the medical proof for free. If you go there, we won't contact you, okay? But what you can do, if you want, but you get to choose. At the very bottom, you can actually sign up for a free personal consultation with one of our coaches who's done the protocol, who's coached hundreds of people. The coaching is 100% free. Even if you do the protocol, you get coached by one of our coaches, because this is a little bit complicated, okay? Now, the other thing that's so amazing about this, and we don't have anything to do with that, but the fulfillment companies who supplied the foods to make the world's most perfect meal to the researchers, where you'd spend 60% of whatever you're going to spend, in monetary terms, they offer you 100% money back guarantee. They'll even pay return shipping. I mean, who does that? And look, nothing's 100%, of course, but aren't you just a little bit curious, just a itsy bitsy teeny bit of curious? I mean, honestly, can you even believe it's possible to lose as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet, lose as much weight in a month as a year on any diet, lose no water, and gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise? The people in the studies weren't allowed to exercise. They actually wore Fitbits to prove they weren't exercising. That's how, because now, how in the world did they build lean muscle with no exercise? I had someone on a podcast earlier say, what do you mean? They sat on the couch and they built lean muscle? Yeah, pretty much. Because to build muscle in your body, you need one of the 9 essential amino acids. It's called leucine. Talk to any bodybuilder, they know about leucine, right? So the idea was that they were able to give the people this protein source that had a 91% absorption of all 20 amino acids, including leucine. Where on the other studies, they'd given people, steak, chicken, liver from the grocery store that only had a 30% absorption. So what did they have to do? Give them 3 times as much food. So again, remember the basic principle here. Could we lower the quantity of the food, but not lower the amount of nutrition? Therefore, they created the world's most perfect meals based on the abundance of nutrition, not the lack thereof. And look at the results. Why would you take 8 weeks to lose weight that's unhealthy weight loss when you could lose that much? Do you know most women on this lose a whole dress size in the first week? Guys lose as much as 4 inches off their waist. I mean, the thing is, I'll be honest, for 20 years out of my 21 years of research, and by the way, all 4 books I wrote were with MDs. I'm not an MD. I'm the researcher of the researchers. I think it states clearly there. But the point is that you can be in a position to change the rest of your life if you want to. Remember the old days, let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages. I know there's no more yellow pages now. So let your fingers do the walking through Google and go to the website for free and see the medical proof. I don't want you to believe Peter Greenlaw. Why would you do that? I'm the researcher of the researchers. Our job was to bring you a safe place to go to see the medical evidence first and foremost. And then and only then, if you like what you see, you can sign up for a free personal consultation. No gimmicks, no tricks, no bait and switch, no, changing the rules on you, et cetera. But again, I'd love to know what some of your goals might be. Are you trying to lose weight? Do you want to gain weight? Do you want more energy? Would you like to lower stress in your body? Would you like to lower inflammation? And so I know there's new people coming on all the time and they're wondering, what am I talking about? So what we've been talking about is why diets are failing us, because they are. Does anybody want to try to convince me that if 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic, that diets are working? And then we go to Johns Hopkins Medical School saying that by 2030, 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese. Does anybody really think this is working? This isn't about fat shaming, by the way. My own mother was morbidly obese my whole life. I never knew her thin. I never knew her healthy. And I loved her. She was awesome. She lived in Maine on the beach. She'd walk the beach and get seashells. And 23 years ago, before I became a researcher, she called me up one day and said, Peter, I have one wish in my life. Maybe some of you can relate to this or not. She said, I would give anything if I could just spend one day, 24 hours thin. I said, wow, Mom, that's a great goal. Well, 6 months later, massive heart attack and stroke. My mom did about every diet that it was available 23 years ago. She did the grapefruit diet and the cabbage soup diet and would cut, diets out of magazines. She did Weight Watchers for years. She did everything. She wanted desperately to lose the weight. Now, she lost it. She'd lose 20, gain 25 back. She'd lose 25, gain 30 back. I think she probably gained and lost, I don't know, probably more than 1,000 pounds, maybe more than that over the course of her lifetime. From the time I was a little boy, I never remember her anything but, overweight or obese. I mean, there were certainly times when she'd lose, 20, 30 pounds. I think one time she lost maybe up to 40 or 50 pounds, but it didn't matter. She was just awesome. But how many of you have tried everything and nothing works? Because I want to read to you from another study that'll support we don't give you opinions. If you want opinions, there's plenty of people on social media that can give you an opinion. That's not what we do, okay? So this study was done in the Journal of the American Medical Association, 12 months. And in this case, the study was of other studies. There were 48 studies total they looked at, 7,286 people. And they summarized it by saying this. Well, first, they listed all the major diets: paleo, keto, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating, Cornish diet, zone diet, lose weight for your blood type, Atkins, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, and more, okay? After 12 months, when they analyzed the most amount of weight loss to the least amount of weight loss in a year, it was 10 ounces. So you can change, you know what I'm saying? And in a year, people lost 16 pounds. But 40% of what the people lost was lean muscle mass. This is over and over and over and over. All these studies, people lose weight, they gain it all back. What they're losing is lean muscle mass. There was another study, this is a shorter study, it was done in the Journal of the American Medical Association, but very recently. They took a 3-month study of people on time-restricted eating where you don't eat for 16 hours and you eat for 8, okay? Same like they studied that also in the Journal of the American Medical Association. But in this case, this is what they said in the study. People who subscribe to the don't eat for 16 or 16-8 diet gain almost no benefit from it. And over 3 months, the average weight loss was 2 to 3.5 pounds. And most of the weight lost was not fat, but lean muscle mass, even in just 3 months. I don't care what diet you're on, you're going to lose weight. But ask yourself this question. Think about it. Is your diet doing something for you, or is it doing something to you? Well, according to the research, it's definitely doing something to you. And yet we keep hanging on. We want a new title, like this time-restricted eating, or, low-carb diet, or the salmon. I mean, hopefully you get the point. But here's the great news. These researchers stuck with it for 38 years, 150 studies. And you know what they really figured out? What didn't work. Do you ever hear the story about Thomas Edison when he invented the light bulb and people say, you failed 3,000 times? And he went, no, I didn't. I just figured out 3,000 ways not to invent it. That's kind of how these researchers came on this completely new protocol, which is called R2M, stands for race to maintenance. There's no question that you're going to lose weight. Well, like I said, you'll lose weight in a week that would take you 2 months on a diet. So I don't care what your number is. Once you get to that goal, we're going to show you how to stay there. I lost 40 pounds 21 years ago. I've kept it off for 21 years. I mean, that's success. I'm not impressed. Well, I just lost 40 pounds, Really? Well, let's see how much you weigh in 6 months. Because the science doesn't lie. Johns Hopkins Medical School has nothing but they're trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, 86% of Americans are going to be overweight by 2030? In less than 6 years? Are you kidding me? I mean, really? So honestly, I'd like to see anybody that wants to put in the chat, can you name a diet that's not some form of, well, they call it lowering calories. That's not really true. They're lowering the amount of food that you're consuming. And if you've had success or haven't had success or you're struggling. But I want to point out again, the main reason to do this is not to lose weight. Do you know in the studies, the other thing that should alarm all of us, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, said that this was in the last 7 or 8 months, 92% of the American population is metabolically unhealthy. What does that mean? They say if you have 3 of 5 factors, you're metabolically unhealthy. Overweight, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, or high triglycerides. Do you know all 5 of those came down dramatically in these medical studies in just 30 days? Inflammation, which has never come down on any diet, exercise program ever, came down 25% in 30 days. People's hunger came down 41% in 30 days. But doesn't it make sense? If you're able to consume the world's most perfect meal, giving you all the nutrition that you need, your body doesn't care about calories. That's a joke. It cares about nutrition. And that's what the researchers were able to do. It was not based on calories, it was based on nutritional density. Another way to think about it is this. You could go to the gas station today and let's say you paid $4 a gallon and you buy a gallon of gasoline and that gallon takes you 20 miles. Well, that's like conventional food. Think of it that way. Yet you could go and maybe for $5 a gallon and you'd say, why are you charging $5 a gallon? They said, well, because 1 gallon of our gas will take you 100 miles. That's the concept that they proved, not a theory. Now, let me tell you why is metabolic syndrome so bad? Because our total healthcare budget is around 4.5 trillion with a T. But almost 1.2 trillion of that 4.5 is metabolic syndrome. It's the biggest thing that, as a category, it's the biggest thing almost among all disease states. And yet, so much of it is lifestyle. So much of it is being overweight. So much of it are things that, now, thank goodness we have drugs, and I'm not against drugs, don't hear me say that deal with this calamity, this pandemic. You watch the ads on TV. I mean, how many drugs do we have? I mean, thank goodness we have them, because if you're a diabetic or you have high blood pressure and you don't have a solution, you better hope your doc gives you the right kind of, whether it's a statin or something to lower your blood pressure or whatever. But in the studies, what was so amazing, let's just talk about diabetics for a moment. In these studies, there were diabetics in there monitored by their medical doctors, not by the researchers who did the research. And one of the things that they found so startling was when you take a drug like glucophage, metformin, Ozempic, whatever, to lower your blood sugar or insulin, yeah, they lower blood sugar, good. But in every case, every time when they lower the sugar, insulin goes up. When insulin goes up, two bad things happen. One, it causes you to store fat and also raises cortisol, the stress hormone. In the studies, people's blood sugar came down 10 points, not 10%. 10 points is a lot more. In 30 days, insulin came down by 41% in 30 days. You have to understand, this is not a diet. This is now a journey that we all can go on. Because the thing about diets, you don't have to agree with me, but this is my definition. It's always a destination. I want to lose weight because I'm going to a wedding. It's summertime. It's wintertime. I want to look good for Thanksgiving or whatever it is. But in losing weight, which you can do on every diet, you're going to hear me say that over and over again, it's the wrong kind of weight. If in every analysis of every diet out there, people are losing weight, but 25 to 40% of what the weight they're losing is lean muscle mass. Now, let me give you another example. I've got a study here, New England Journal of Medicine, on semaglutide, one of the GLP-1s like Ozempic, et cetera. Their study, New England Journal of Medicine, they don't have a dog in this hunt. They did a 68-week study on the shot, in this case, semaglutide. After 68 weeks, a year and 4 months, the average weight loss was 32 pounds. But in the study, right in the study, it says that weight loss, 40% of that weight loss was lean muscle mass. I'm working with people on the shot, well, not just me, but we're working with people on the shots because every one of them is losing tremendous amounts of lean muscle. You've probably heard the term Ozempic face, where they're. And so the other problem is when people stop the shots, and I'm not against the shots, they're definitely helping people. But with everything, there's always side effects. If you're losing 40% of your lean muscle mass, you stop that shot. The minute you stop, which we now know, people are gaining back, they're gaining as much as a half a pound a day. And if 40% is lean muscle mass, wow, what a dilemma that is. Remember, they took 68 weeks to lose 32 pounds. Here, these people with no exercise, they lost 16 pounds in the first month. So you can imagine how fast those that needed to lose more lost that weight with no loss of water. And unlike the study, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass despite losing weight at, in a tenth of the time or whatever you want to say compared to anything else out there, including these GLP-1s. And again, I'm not against them. They're really helping people. And, we need, my God, with 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic right now, and Johns Hopkins Medical School is saying by 2030, if the current trend continues, 86% of America is going to be overweight. How much worse does it have to get? How much longer do you want to listen to, believe the influences that you're seeing on social media? Some of them with all kinds of credentials after their name, their PhDs and all the buzzwords. But I haven't seen any of them give you one shred of medical evidence. I haven't seen one of them show you any medical proof, a website where you can go and see the medical proof. Well, they don't post it because they don't have any medical proof. And third, you get free coaching, really free coaching with a live person. And 60% of what you would purchase, because 40% comes from the grocery store. So you'd have to make a deal with them if they're going to give you your money back if you don't lose weight or you're unhappy. But the fulfillment companies are so sure it's going to work, they offer you a 100% money back guarantee. What is your risk? Your risk is that you hold on to your skepticism, and I'll support it. It's cool. But what eliminates it, yeah, yes, exactly, Earth Mama. You're right there. So again, Earth Mama, okay. So Earth Mama, did you hear what I said about the diabetics? I'll repeat it for you. The diabetics in the medical studies that were on, so you're on Mounjaro, well, they were on glucophage and metformin, and even some were on insulin, right? So in 30 days, they brought their blood sugar down by 10 points, not 10%, but they also dropped insulin by 41%, and even the diabetics lost as much weight in 30 days as anybody's ever lost in a year. You're proving my point. Diabetics have a really hard time losing weight. Why? Because when you use the medication to drive the sugar down, insulin goes up. You're proving it to me. And yet you could go there. We have people that are experts on diabetes. Just make sure if you fill out the free consultation, say, I'm a diabetic on Mounjaro, et cetera, so we can direct you to the right coach, because we have people that work with people with all kinds of autoimmune diseases. We're not diagnosing, treating any medical conditions. Let's get that out of the way. But also, Earth Mama, you might be excited to find out that the chemist who invented this, or the early form of it 25 years ago, he was a diabetic. So this, now, over 25 years that from when it was first sort of conceived until now, it's changed a lot. It's gotten more, and these researchers really took it to the next level. But if you go to the web, wait till you see the A1C. Wait till you see the drops in blood sugar and stuff. It's almost like science fiction. You're going to have a hard time believing it. But yet you can go there for free, right? And so my point is, wow. Well, insulin measures still elevated, although blood sugar lowered. Yeah. But again, you can't lose any weight, right? I mean, isn't that frustrating for you? And see, you think it's your fault. No, it's the wrong approach. Wrong approach. But you have no risk. Because I promise, if you go there, I'll get you a coach this one coach has worked with probably 2,000 or 3,000 diabetics over the course of 21 years. His own father was a diabetic. So he's really worked hard with people with, diabetes. Now, we're not curing diabetes. Let's not hear anybody say that. But again, in your case, what do you want to do? You want to lower your blood sugar, you want to lower the insulin, and you want to lose weight. I'm sure your doctor would tell you if you can lose weight, you'll need less medication. Am I right? I mean, yeah. So again, Earth Mama, you can see right there above you, go to the New Health Conversation and schedule a free personal consultation, right? It's right there. I'll also put it below your name just so you can see if it'll post. Okay, you can see, go to the New Health Conversation and schedule a free consultation. Do you see, like in your case, we're not going to give you some checklist. You just check the box. We need to interact with you, because right now I don't have any idea. You say you haven't lost any weight. I don't know how much weight you want to lose, et cetera. But the personal conversation, consultation, they'll go over all that with you, because we do have people who want to gain weight. We have a young man, he's 2 years old doing this. We got somebody 90. We have a man with a heart transplant. We've got people with autoimmune, but we're not treating diseases. Don't get that in my mind. Look, here, think of it this way. So, Earth Mama, these are the top weight loss physiologists in the world. They figured out, I'm going to listen to them. They're not nutritionists. They're not dietitians. That's not what they do. These are real deep scientists that have done 38 years of research figuring out all the diets that we're being told to do, with all due respect, from the dietitians, from the nutritionists. They prove that none of them work. Zero work. Oh, you lose weight initially, then you gain it all back. What's the point? What have you done? You're running in place. Only now you're running faster and faster and faster in place. You're not making any changes, all right? So what I'm saying to you is that you might get a chance to hit the reset button to bring down your blood sugar, to bring down your insulin, but more importantly, to bring your weight down. And like I said, I don't have any idea. Good, you'll get your consult. Terrific. And like I said, we're not they're not there to sell you or convince you. They're there to help you. But please make sure, we have so many inquiries. It's really important you let us know if apparently you are diabetic, either type 1 or type 2, and then we'll direct you so you get the right coach. The coaching's free. It's free. And 60% of what you're going to buy, 100% money back guarantee in the first 30 days. I keep looking at this and going, what am I doing wrong? What am I not conveying to the audience? But you got to understand, it's called R2M. That's the protocol, stands for race to maintenance. So in the case, like in your case, Earth Mama, it would be to get you whatever weight you want to lose, hopefully bring down your blood sugar, your insulin, et cetera. But then, excuse me, then also teach you how to maintain what you've lost. That's the whole idea behind this. The weight loss, we know it's like a joke. We just know when you go there and see the before and afters, which honestly, Earth Mama, if I showed them, I'd get banned on TikTok. They're so dramatic, the men and women. You'll see people that lost, men and women lost like 100 pounds, no loose skin. I know everybody thinks we Photoshop that stuff, but we don't have to. We don't have to. It's real. And then you have the medical. So, Earth Mama, let me show you the website just so you can be comfortable. There's nothing to buy there. My books are not for sale. There's the medical interview with the #1 nutritional researcher. There's an explanation more detailed about what they did. The actual medical studies are there. You can click on the link and see them. It'll take you right to the studies. And then fourth are the before and after pictures, but also with the medical, with the A1Cs and the blood sugar, the cholesterol, the triglycerides. We have nothing to hide because we have real medical proof. You know, that's the point. You know, people come on all the time and they want to criticize me, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me. But science doesn't care about what kind of glasses I have or what kind of tie or whatever. All science does is present the facts. They have no emotion, unlike me. They have no prejudice. They have no agenda. It just is. Science is science. And isn't it interesting that when you look at whether it's paleo or keto or Mediterranean, they've never on their own, the people that are promoting that, done a peer-reviewed human trial study. The analysis of all those other diets was done by the big medical journals because they're frustrated. Wait a minute, how is the medical system going to cope in less than 6 years with 86% of America being obese or overweight? It's 80% today, 80% overweight, 50% obese, and 50% pre-diabetic. I think you've all heard the stories. There's insulin shortages already. Well, wait a minute. If we're going to go to 86% overweight and obese, do you think that number is going to go down or is it going to go up? We're headed for a catastrophe. Now, I'm not the only one saying it. I was for a long time. Her name is Kaylee, I think it's Tracy or Kaylee Means. She was a Stanford medical surgeon, brilliant woman. Essentially, she walked away from medicine. And she's been really vocal on social media. I mean, it's wonderful that she's basically saying what I've been saying for 21 years. The difference now, though, is that even she's recognizing the problem, but she really doesn't have a solution. With all due respect, she doesn't, right? So now the other thing that I want to share with all of you, let's see, an hour and 95. Wow, Earth Mama, that's amazing. That is just shocking. Now, Earth Mama or any of the other people, let me share a couple more things with everybody, okay? And so, Earth Mama, hopefully you'll be excited or not excited about this. So, I discovered a medical syndrome, Earth Mama, and everybody else. It's called TDOS. It stands for toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, overweight, and stress. It's a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. Now, for those that don't understand, why is that a big deal? It's not a copyright. When you, in this case, especially in medicine, when you have a new, in this case, a syndrome, the patent office, U.S. Patent Office, they basically search the world to see if there's anything even similar, even minutely similar to what you've done. Because number one, if they grant you a registered trademark, that's your protection against intellectual property theft, number one. But number two, they don't want to grant you a research on research that somebody else has done, so you're stealing their work. So this is original material. We have a registered trademark, a really big deal, really proud of it. Now, why should we be concerned? Okay, so Earth Mama and everybody else, I want to read to you from the experts in the world about us storing these chemicals in our body, okay? Let's start out this way. The Endocrine Society, the largest organization of experts devoted to research on hormones and the clinical practice of endocrinology, reports that the rise in the incidence in obesity matches the rise in the use and distribution of industrial chemicals. They go on to say they gave these chemicals a name. What chemicals are we talking about? Herbicides, pesticides, Scotchgard, flame retardants, et cetera, et cetera. So they give them a name, they call them obesogens. Listen to this. Simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal system, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our body from a variety of sources, from natural compounds in food, hormones fed to animals, plastic pollutants in food packaging, chemicals added to processed food, and pesticides sprayed on our produce. They act in a variety of ways, mimicking human hormones such as estrogen, blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, and essentially reprogram us to gain weight. What are any of you doing about obesogens? Did you even know they existed before today? But let's go to another world expert on this topic. Frederick von Saul, professor of biological sciences, University of Missouri, Columbia, stated, obesogens are acting by hijacking the regulatory system that controls our body weight. This presence of obesogens is the first reason, listen to this carefully, this presence of obesogens is the first reason that traditional dieting methods have become outdated. Never before have traditional low-carbohydrate, low-calorie diets been forced to accommodate for this level of synthetic chemicals and the adverse effects they have on the body. The body's attempt to protect itself from the constant assault of synthetic toxins results in the production and storage of fat. There's why so many people tell me it's not just that they're overweight, it's the amount of fat. Our body is literally evolving, okay, to deal with the chemicals in the only way it knows how. Well, first, let me clarify one thing. Obviously, the liver is the biggest filter in the body. But right now, according to Dr. James Lustig of Stanford Medical School, that 45% of Americans, meaning 45% of the people on this podcast, have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. They don't even know it. Because now what's happening is the liver, in trying to deal with these chemicals, is literally taking fat and basically encapsulating or enrobing the chemicals. Well, the liver, once it can't handle anymore, the toxins come in and they go down the bloodstream, and then the body has one last chance. So it grabs the chemical and stuffs it in our visceral fat. And there's two kinds of fat on the body. The outer layer is called subcutaneous or adipose, but the underlying fat, the fat around our organs, that's called visceral fat. That's where we're storing these chemicals. Well, in the medical studies, this is what's so great about what they did. They did, through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, they proved that this was removing herbicides and pesticides and Scotchgard and Teflon and even plastics from the body. And more importantly, people shrank that belly fat, that visceral fat, by 33% in 8 weeks with no exercise. What? Yeah, absolutely. And like I told you before, men and women lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet while gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. But in 8 weeks, they shrank that visceral fat by 33%. But they also had the other medical proof that through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, that it was assisting the body in removing chemicals from us. That's the reason to do this. Not to lose weight. The weight loss is like a throw-in. But for example, Earth Mama, I think you could see that what this potentially could do, because Earth Mama, in 30 days, people's blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, and obviously weight all came down dramatically in 30 days. And inflammation, as you well know, is the underlying cause of every disease, came down 25% in 30 days. People's hunger came down 41%. I know it sounds too good to be true. I know it sounds like a miracle, because it is. How else would you describe it? I mean, Earth Mama, have you ever heard of seen any diet protocol that they put people on that are in the hospitals, especially if they're obese, et cetera? Anything even resembling these kind of results? Have you ever seen anything like this? That's what the researchers said. And when they did the research, they didn't know if it was going to work. It was speculation. They had a theory that if you could reduce the amount of food people consumed, but not reduce the amount of nutrition, that probably really good things would happen. Well, they get the medical proof. Right, see, that's what Earth Mama, the nurse, she's saying no, she's never heard of anything like that. Do you understand how lucky you all are that potentially you get to hit the reset button? My mom didn't. I can't even tell you. I mean, of course, it's all speculation. But 23 years ago, if I just could have been on a phone, because there was no internet, it was none of this stuff available then, to have just been aware of an alternative. My mom did every diet, lowering calories, counting calories, et cetera. The cabbage, I mean, it was just over and over and over again. It was a never ending. She was on that, running in place. And each time she ran a little faster, it still didn't work. So, no, Earth Mama, you're not the only one. It's the wrong approach. Because keep in mind, I eat healthy to a point. Earth Mama, were you on when I explained what the researchers created, the world's most perfect meals that are part of this? 40% of what you consume, Earth Mama, is from the grocery store. You'd get a grocery list that the researchers used. But they put together the world's most perfect meal that contained everything that's not it's either completely non-available in our food or it's in really low quantities. That's why this worked. That's why they were able to reduce the amount of food people consume, but not reduce the amount of nutrition. So I don't know if I went over that or not, but I will for everybody else before we close out this podcast. So what the researchers did after 38 years and 150 studies of pretty much every diet out there, they knew what didn't work. What didn't work was lowering the amount of food people consumed, because then you lower the amount of nutrition. And in all the diets that they studied, people lost weight. That was never a question, but it was lean muscle mass up to 40%, and people gained back all of the weight, or they plateaued and they couldn't lose anymore. It didn't matter what they did, just kind of like what Earth Mama is telling me. Okay, so I'm going to explain it to you now, Earth Mama and everybody else. What they did was they figured out what's really missing from our food. Number one thing, Earth Mama, are what are called trace ionic minerals. Okay, to give you an idea, we need 70. Now, certainly you've heard of iron, calcium, magnesium. You see that in the hospital all the time. But we need things like gold and silver and zinc and beryllium and boron and molybdenum. We need 70. And the best organic, even if you're buying it now and you think you're eating healthy, you're getting 20 out of 70 minerals. So again, as they put together the world's perfect meal, they found a food source that had all 70 minerals. All 70, not 20, okay? The second thing they did, and this is one of the most important things to all of us, and that there's 20 amino acids that we need. 9 are essential and 11 are non-essential. You get them only from protein. You don't get them from fats. You don't get them from carbs. So let's say you ingest a plant protein or an animal protein, you get all 20 amino acids. Well, that sounds great. I had a big obesity doctor on social media just a few hours ago coming on touting the fact about, well, you need more protein in order to lose weight. With all due respect, you have no idea what you're talking about. In Europe, if you were up on things, you'd know, I'm not talking about you people, I'm talking about this doctor, that in Europe about 8 or 9 years ago, they developed a test that's called net nitrogen utilization. So when we ingest a protein from a plant or an animal, we get all 20 amino acids. Cheer, great. That doesn't mean anything to your body. Only thing your body cares about is the absorption. And obviously, with Mama being a nurse, you know about dosage, right? It's very important. So what they were able to measure was when you ingested protein from a plant or an animal, what percentage of those 20 amino acids were actually being used by the body? Well, shockingly, all vegetable proteins registered about 10%. All animal proteins, steak, chicken, liver, fish, etc., registered 30%. Again, the researchers, they're making the world's most perfect meal. They found a source of protein where the absorption of the amino acids was 91%. So now they're building the meal, right? We've got all 70 minerals. We have a 91% absorption of amino acids. The third thing they found was a very specialized electrolyte. And electrolytes, for those of you who don't know, are important to help your body to, again, use whatever liquid water that you're absorbing. Number 3, this was very wild. They found what they're called adaptogens. They come from Mongolia and Manchuria in Russia, right? Well, these absolutely been proven. As a matter of fact, the Germans and the East Germans and the Russians were beating us back in the 60s in track and field because of adaptogens. Because what do adaptogens do? 2 incredible things that you'd be interested in. 1, they lower stress and they lower inflammation. So literally, their athletes could run 100 meters, come back, rest for 10 minutes, and then run at 220. So this was lowering inflammation and stress in their body, and that's why they were so successful. Well, that's part of what becomes part of your perfect meal, are these adaptogens. And the last thing, they found a food source with all natural vitamins, no synthetic anything. And again, Earth Mama, ashwagandha is one of them. But there's like 5 that you need, okay? Now, in addition, I'm very impressed that you know. If I said ashwagandha to most people, they wouldn't know about it. That's okay. But as you probably know, those people with the MTHFR gene, you don't want them to have, because almost all the vitamins on the market today are synthetic, okay? Researchers knew this. So the source they found was pure, natural vitamins. And again, massive quantities of those vitamins, but not in a lot of calories. So now what's the world's most perfect food? 1, the 70 minerals, the 91% absorption of aminos, the electrolyte, the adaptogens, and the natural vitamins. So now we have the ingredients for what people were going to ingest. 40% from the grocery store and 60% from these sources to make the world's most perfect meal. Okay, now they had to do a completely different way of consuming food. One was called protein pacing. So 5 days a week, this is what they did on a protein pacing day. Their breakfast was, and it would be for you too, Earth Mama, the world's most perfect meal. Lunch would be from the recommended food list, not the perfect meal. Dinner from the grocery list, and then, but here's the cool thing. Then they had people have a 4th meal of the world's most important meal, or most perfect meal, on a protein pacing day. So they started with the world's most perfect meal. They ended their day with the world's most perfect meal, okay? Now, 2 days a week, they did something that had never been done before called intermittent nutritional fasting, not fasting, okay? And on those days, no food from the grocery store, and the only thing people consumed were 4 meals a day of the world's most perfect meal. Why was that critical? Because they really wanted to limit the quantity of the food, and because the body, in order for it to naturally remove chemicals from the body, it happens every night when you go to sleep, by the way. When you sleep, your body suspends digestion, or for the most part it does. And then when that happens, the body turns on a natural detox mechanism. It's called autophagy. It gets rid of the dead cells and the remnants while we're sleeping. Well, the researchers, they duplicated that process when people were awake. Now, how can I say that? Because in the studies, again, the pesticides, herbicides, Scotchgard, Teflon, they proved it was coming out of the body. So I hope you can understand now the world's most perfect meal. Now, here's what's so cool about this. When you get to maintenance, you could do as little as one of these world's most perfect meal, like say for breakfast. So it becomes really cost effective once you get to your goal. Now, also, people ask me all the time, how much does it cost? Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to gain weight? Do you want to lose weight? Are you an athlete? And again, I'm not trying to be evasive. That's what you'd go over with the coach. But here I can give you a general idea what people tell me. Because they're spending only 40% of what they typically would buy at the grocery store, the other 60% that you're buying, probably it could be anywhere from you spend exactly the same amount of money that you're spending now, or maybe $50 or $100 more a month than what you're spending. But where are you going to get the world's most perfect meal? And, there are people when it's, it just depends. That's what they're there for, is to guide you and show you. But once you get the whole idea behind this is maintenance. There's no other reason to do it. Because the key is, I'll ask you again and again and again, why wouldn't you want to put at least once a day, once you get to maintenance, the world's most perfect meal in your body? Why would you want to shortchange your body? I hope I'm making sense, or I hope I did make sense. I hope that this has been helpful to, all of you. There's nothing like this on the planet. I mean, when you have 7 peer-reviewed medical studies where they have the medical proof, irrefutable evidence that this really, really is going to change the world. World experts are calling the researchers, okay, and telling them this was going to obsolete every diet out there. And you can see the interview right on the website. The very first module is an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. They don't sell anything. So he's not like part of a company. They found the ingredients plus food from the grocery store and created these two new, the protein pacing and intermittent nutritional fasting. Does that make sense to all of you? So again, I just want you to feel comfortable. This isn't some trick. Like you're going to go and then, flashing on the screen, buy the book, 20% off by 5. We're not doing any of that nonsense. When you've got peer-reviewed human trial studies behind you, you don't have to make up anything. All these other influences, with all due respect, I haven't seen one of them give you one shred of medical evidence. I don't see any of them giving you free consultations. And I don't see any of them with their protocols giving you 100% money back guarantee. I don't fault them. They're telling you what they think they know. But again, like this obesity doctor today coming on saying about how much protein you need. Wait a minute, do you know about net nitrogen utilization? Because the protein means nothing to us. As a matter of fact, the part I didn't even tell you. So let's say you did steak, chicken, liver, whatever. Only 30% of the aminos are absorbed. Well, what happens to the 70% of the protein that's left? It's a toxin that our kidneys have to get rid of. They have a name. They're called nitrogen catabolites, urea, creatine, ammonia, and glucose. And those things really cause inflammation in the body. No diet is even in the same zip code, even in the same category. There's nothing like it on planet Earth. I understand you're skeptical and you want to hold on to those beliefs. But if we're just objective, let's say you didn't know me and you came across it yourself. If you saw the medical evidence that 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic based on all the diet, I call them schemes, out there, would you think you wanted to go on a diet? Temporarily, you lose weight, you're going to feel better, but you're going to gain it all back. And the problem is that they now know that 80 or 90% of what people gain back on a diet is fat. It's not lean muscle. What more evidence do you need? And you can see the medical proof. You get to do a free consultation if you want. And there's 100% money back guarantee on 60% of what you would be spending, because 40% you're buying it from the grocery store, and I don't think the grocery store is probably going to give you a refund on that. And you probably aren't going to be spending much more than you're spending now. But the key here, it's not up for debate whether you can lose the weight. The key is to teach you how to keep it off. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter that we're going to get the weight off you. That's going to happen exactly, I mean, I'll tell you a sad story. I have a woman now, not me, but one of the coaches. I think she's mid-60s. She weighs 300 pounds. She started a different protocol from another provider, and they charged her, I think so far, she's paid $14,000 or $16,000 since January. So we're now in the 9th month, right? She's lost a total of 16 pounds, and she's been plateaued for 2 months. These things work until they don't. Diets I'm talking about. They work until they don't work, So, yeah, Earth Mama, that obviously if someone's on kidney dialysis, the last thing on earth you want them to do is to have protein. So imagine this source they found, essentially 91% of the protein, which is broken down into, casein, milk protein, whey proteins, etc., it's gone. So there's very little. So remember, the whole key to this was, could we lower the amount of food we were consuming, but not lower the nutrition? That's what they achieved. Nobody's ever done that before. That's what the world's most perfect meal is all about. And it's normal life, but the key, let's say in your case, is to get you moving, get the weight off, and maybe your meds, your nurse, you'll be able, hopefully, with the help of your endocrinologist, your internist, to lower the amount of medication you'll be consuming. What a great goal for anybody. So again, any of you that are still on, because wow, I've already been on for over an hour. The time goes by so fast because I'm just so concentrated on making sure that I give you the best that I can give you. Not a sales presentation. This is not a infomercial. It's a podcast. It's educational. And as I said, I've written 4 best-selling books with MDs. Why Diets Are Failing Us, the TDOS syndrome, which we went over, TDOS Solutions, and this book called Your Third Brain, which I wrote with one of the top oncologists in the entire world, who also is a molecular biologist, who also has worked with two men who won the Nobel Prize in medicine. And certainly Earth Mama would know this being a nurse. In medical research, whether you're a medical doctor or a researcher, you want to get published in these big medical journals like The Lancet or PubMed or things like that. So most doctors or researchers, if they get 15 or 20 of their experiments or papers published in a lifetime, it's a lot. My colleague has had 237 papers published in some of the biggest medical journals in the world, and 2 of his papers are in the top 10% of all medical papers ever submitted. That's why I'm not the expert, but I became an expert on the experts. And what they helped me to do was to figure out how to educate people about how to do this. And like I told you, for 20 years, no medical doctor, well, other than the ones that I wrote the books with, but as far as the normal medical world, they wouldn't look at this until about 15 months ago when these peer-reviewed studies, these human, remember, this is on humans, this isn't rats or mice or a scientific paper, the stuff you see on the internet, on TV, you know, et cetera, where they're hyping this, well, we have a scientifically proven ingredient. Yeah, I get some swampland in Florida too. What they never tell you is that ingredient, how much of it is in their product. Well, without a peer-reviewed human trial study, it's just subjective. You know, I see someone on TV now is advertising, 70 chelated minerals. Yeah, completely inferior to trace ionic minerals. Not even in the same zip code. But again, you're all free to do whatever you want to do. You can follow whatever, influences you want to follow. But I just keep saying, is your diet doing something for you or is it doing something to you? Well, based on the evidence, with 80% overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic, I think that's probably doing something to you. So I'm going to put one last time. No, Earth Mama, don't buy my book. I don't want you spending your money on that. Go to the website. It's free. See, that's what happens. I sometimes I'm reluctant even to mention my books because people think that's my goal. I want you to buy my book. I'm serious. I don't want you to buy my book. What I'm saying is for free, you can go to that website. Now, the other reason I don't want you to buy my book, I wrote it in 2010, even though we've had 2 or 3 revisions, 14 years ago. I would have to rewrite all my books to put the latest and greatest. What's on the website is the latest and greatest scientific proof as soon, one of the studies and you would know this, Earth Mama, it's called Nature Communications, the #1 medical journal in the world. A huge study came out. Well, I'm going to brag a little bit. We wrote the definitive book on the microbiome. For those who don't know what that is, that's basically your gut immune system, okay? We wrote the definitive book about, well, it's been, almost 10 years ago now? I guess I should look at, I don't even remember when we published it. Let's see if it says in here, ironically. I guess I should know that, right? But I don't. So don't hold it against me for too long, right? But anyway, what the study was about in Nature Communications was 100% on the gut health. And they proved in 30 days a massive increase in what's called the biodiversity of the gut. And then in 8 weeks, they had people with all kinds of gut health issues wait. And the studies there, I can't talk about it on TikTok. I get in trouble. I don't need to do that. I love TikTok. I want to stay within the community guideline rules. And everything we're presented to you today was original material. Our research, we did the research. So again, Earth Mama, please don't spend your money buying my book. Go to the website, it's free. Sign up for the free consultation, and hopefully we can help you. So let's see, any other comments? Would anybody else like to ask me a question or comment before I end this podcast? If you're still on, I would highly encourage you, recommend you to go to the New Health Conversation, and you can see the medical proof there of everything that I'm talking about. Let me one last time. I'm going to show everybody. This is the website. This is exactly what you'd see. There's nothing to buy there. There's no tricks, no gimmicks. You're in control. If you go there, you can sign up for a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. someone who's done the protocol, been trained, have helped, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, a whole wide variety of coaches. We have medical doctors, we have nurses, we have PAs, we have, just we're there to help you. And that consultation is free, okay? So, all right, then I'm going to end this. I'm going to end this podcast, and just to let you know, if you went to my TikTok site, The New Health Conversation, and liked it, that helps me. But also, I probably try to do 3 or 4 podcasts a day, starting probably around 11 Eastern, then maybe like 1:32, 3, 4, and then usually one later in the afternoon, like this one right now, as it's, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. So time flies when you're having fun, all right? So anyway, I will conclude this podcast right now. Wish all of you a wonderful rest of your day. Or I know we have people in Australia that are getting up, it's tomorrow, or people in Bangladesh and India and places like that, because these podcasts apparently are going all over the world. So anyway, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful rest of whatever 24-hour cycle you're in, night, day, afternoon, I don't know, okay? Thanks, everyone.